Joining us now is Kachiofia to catch all the stories trending around the world. Hello, Kachi.
Good morning, Dr. Bati.
Good morning.
Good morning, Wimbai. Good morning, Adifemi. Thank you. I was going to say we are like the coats of many colors on this table this morning. It's just such a colorful table. But good morning, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. We start with a story. On Wednesday, protest rocked the Nigeria Meteorological Agency as staff launched an indefinite strike over poor pay and welfare packages, halting services nationwide. This led to some airlines, including Air Peace, suspending operations. Now, at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, protesting workers were seen with placards chanting, "No weather, no flight. Fly at your own risk." The chant was a warning to passengers that weather updates to the airlines had been suspended, and flying now carries added risks. Let's take a look.
No flight! Fly at your own risk! No weather, no flight! Fly at your own risk! No weather, no flight! Fly at your own risk! No weather, no flight! Fly at your own risk! No weather, no flight! Fly at your own risk! No weather, no flight! Fly at your own risk! No weather, no flight! Fly at your own risk! No weather, no flight!
So we know that the Minister of Aviation has scheduled meetings with the union representatives to address this issue. But on a larger scale, I saw these videos, and I understand why they're protesting welfare packages. They need to know. They said that it's a really dire situation that they are in. But who are they referring to when they say no weather, no flight? Who are the people flying? Are they are we the problem? Because for every single person who had missed a flight, every single person who had an emergency, that problem became theirs. So I'm not sure if I subscribe to the idea of taking every single person in Nigeria and making them accountable to a situation that ideally they have nothing to do with. I really don't think it's fair.
Well, the starting point, in my view, will be, should the federal government agency or the government of Nigeria refuse to pay salaries of people who work for the Nigerian state? Mm-hmm. Or should they be treated badly because they're talking about unpaid salaries?
Yes.
They're talking about poor welfare. I think that should be the starting point. There are so many people working for the government of Nigeria, either in the security agencies or in critical sectors, such as people like these NIMET officials, Nigeria Meteorological Agency, who monitor and advise on weather conditions for flights. Why should they not be paid? When we see government political appointees, politicians living large and enjoying themselves, the people who do the work, they are not allowed. Yes, of course, it's the people that will suffer because the main thing in aviation is safety. There is no way any aircraft can fly if the people who will give weather advice, if they are not working. They can't fly blind. And I think that is why, Air Peace has taken the enlightened position. The spokesperson for Air Peace yesterday issued a statement and saying all flights by Air Peace have been suspended until further notice because safety is more important. And I think that other airlines should follow suit. Mm-hmm. Number 3, you said that the Minister of Aviation has called a meeting. Well, whatever grievances these workers have come up with should be quickly addressed because now we can't fly.
Exactly.
Now the roads are not safe.
Farmers as well.
If you go onto the road, you are traveling somewhere, the roads are in poor state, you will meet policemen on the road, you will meet VIO on the road, you will meet road safety,
on the road.
You will meet even local government officials. Some of them looking for what is not missing. They may even say, where is your fire extinguisher? In fact, sometimes they ask for birth certificates. They say they want to be sure that you can drive on Nigerian roads.
You're illegal.
No, this is the kind of absurdity that people encounter on the road. So even if you go by train, the trains also have problems. So the only means for the middle class and the upper middle class for travel is through air travel. So we should not shut down the country, especially when you calculate the suspension of air flights in terms of cost. Either for productivity or even for the investors, the businesses involved in that sector. So please pay NIMET officials their salaries.
So everybody can fly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Urgently. Urgently, whatever the backlog is, it needs to be paid. There's no conversation around it. This is deplorable. And you're asking why should we suffer? Because that's protest. They have to disrupt. Because if they don't disrupt, how would we have become aware of their plight? So yes, it's a little bit uncomfortable for those trying to conduct business. The economy is already very hard. However, there's times where we have to be our brother's keeper, and it's just simply not fair. Now we also have to remember that rainy season has kicked off, and the storms that have already begun are out of this world. And there's storming, there's flooding has already started in some parts of the country as well. So as much as we're looking at aviation as a sector, you need to remember that NIMET right now is very important, because we need to keep tabs on what's currently happening with the rains. When do people need to be given notice to evacuate if there's a flood coming? So this is a very essential service that you would think would be a priority when it comes to ensuring that salaries are paid. Now, nevertheless, some airlines have said that they'll continue to fly. As much as Air Peace have said that no, safety is their priority, other airlines are saying that they have other avenues of accessing the weather hazard reports, as they are called, that determine how safe it is to land. So domestic and international, if you check Flight Radar right now, which is the app that monitors air traffic movement, you'll find that even international flights are able to land because they're using international, some other international protocols and software. This is terrible. This is an indictment on us, because now we're pushing people because airlines are now going to create a sort of insurance for themselves. So that in future their operations are not disrupted. Remember, they're already struggling, Nigerian airlines, to make a clean, to break even, excuse me. So now you're pushing people to invest in the foreign software. We're now taking away from, investment in Nigerian services. So as a whole, this is just absolutely deplorable. This situation should never be allowed. Please pay them their salaries speedily.
Exactly that. They need to be paid. Everyone needs to be paid for their work. It is quite literally just the basic requirement when it comes to people living their lives. So I think that that's definitely something that we can all agree on. I think when you're looking at this from a social level, definitely these disruptions are going to cause annoyance in the populace, but I think we can take a good example from a country like France, for example, which is naturally quite socialist in its behaviors in these types of issues. For example, there was a time in Paris where dustbin collectors wanted more pay, and in order to push for that, they stopped collecting the bins. That obviously created an eyesore, a smell sore in Paris. But what you saw was Parisians really rally behind them and not really complain, literally stay on the streets. And I think that is what we can hope to emulate
from this situation. Okay, well, let's take...
I don't like the idea of improvising with safety.
Yes. Improvising with safety.
I mean, the message I got is that, some airlines say, they can walk their way around it. Safety is number one.
Yeah.
And I think that was exactly what, Alan Onyema said. There was a video that went viral where he was actually issuing that order that all flights be suspended. Yeah. And you just echoed his thoughts exactly to say that you cannot manage with safety. You cannot improvise with safety.
What are these other airlines doing exactly?
Well, they need to tell us. Maybe there's something that we do not know. And now, to another story.
Maybe they are using Google. Weather conditions.
Stop that. Google.
Okay.
Give them a little more credit. Come on. Now, Quadri Alabi has been a name that we've seen in the news for a while. If you take your mind back to the 2023 general elections, you remember the teenager who went viral for standing in front of Peter Obi's convoy. His arms were up in the air, and for a lot of Nigerians, that emphasized and demonstrated the defiance of the youths and the resilience and resolve to thrive. Now, he was recently arrested in January 2025 on allegations of armed robbery, which, of course, his lawyer has now come to say were absolutely false. Recently, he was freed by the Magistrates Court on the 17th of April after he was charged, like I said, with armed robbery alongside 4 others whom he say he's never seen before for stealing money and phones to the tune of 579,000 naira. His release followed legal advice from the Director of Public Prosecutions, Dr. Babajide Martins, who found no evidence to support the charge. However, the Lagos Commissioner of Police, Jimoh Moshood, says the police were unaware of the decision and were not present in court. Moshood also disputed claims that Alabi is a minor, stating that the teenager told the officers he was 18. Alabi's lawyer, Inebehe Effiong, accused the police of misconduct and called for disciplinary actions against the Amukoko DPO, labeling the case as a corrupt setup by rogue area boys. Now, just a backstory to this incident. After this picture went viral, according to Quadri Alabi, he said he became the subject, because he had a lot of attention, and became the subject of harassment from area boys in the area who claimed that he owed them some sort of settlement. And as a result of this not happening, that is exactly how he was handed over to the police in this area, Amukoko area, and he was remanded in prison. Now, there are two issues here. Number one, the issue as to why he was even in prison in the first place. Second, the duty of care. Does it lie on the police to verify the age of the alleged criminals that are coming in? The Lagos Commissioner said he told them he was 18. But that if he is 17 going to 18, then he is 18. The law in the Child Rights Act is very clear. Anyone under the age of 18 is considered a minor. Dr. Abati, let's talk about some of these issues.
It's just pure common sense. Until you attain a particular age, you quote the last age.
Yes.
That's why nobody is saying the Pope Francis, that his age is 89, despite the fact that he was born in 1936.
Exactly.
Because he was born in December, you know, the media quotes 88. So if the boy says, he said he's 18 because he's 17, he's going to 18. His age is 17. That's number one. Two, the lawyer, Inebehe Effiong, presented before the police the birth certificate, which the Commissioner of Police for Lagos is now saying should be investigated. Well, the principle of it is that minors are not supposed, you know, to be put in the same place with adults, hardened criminals, because they are classified as juvenile offenders. The second thing that the Commissioner of Police also said is that, he was detained for about 7 days before he was arraigned in court. The story out there is that this young man was in detention for up to about 3 months.
Yes.
Now, that in itself is a violation of his fundamental human rights. Sections 35 and 36 of the 1999 Constitution, to which this Quadri Alabi is entitled to as a citizen, talks about fair hearing. You can't even detain a person for so long, you know, without following due process. The Commissioner of Police says they followed due process in Lagos Police Command, where the main point of the boy's lawyer and the civil society groups that raised alarm is that due process was not being followed and it was being abused. Number three, the Commissioner of Police says that they have not received any advice to discontinue the matter. In other words, the matter is still in court. Where the advice that he should be released came from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Dr. Martins. I'm sure he must have also read this statement, he must have heard. The DPP should take the consequential step and discontinue this matter. Once it is clear that no prima facie case of theft or robbery, you know, can be established against this young man, whose lawyer is saying that he was framed, he was misrepresented by area boys, street tax collectors, who wanted a share of the money that, Mr. Obi gave him. Mr. Obi, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, has again stepped in to provide further support for this young man. The Commissioner of Police may be right that there is no political undertone to all of this, but he, as the police commissioner, should do what is right and should be seen to be using his command to respect the rule of law.
Exactly, the rule of law here. And also, Adefemi, just to add that this is a reflection of several other people in Kirikiri prison right now.
Exactly, it's the harsh reality for many people exactly that in prisons. And I think that when people get into the phrase of the police when people become offenders or alleged offenders, they shouldn't lose their rights as human beings. And you asked a question at the beginning of this story about whether or not it's up to the police to verify ages. And I do actually think it is up to them. I totally understand that when an offender or someone who has been arrested is brought before a police officer, I can't imagine that, you go through the verification process, asking them what their name is, where they live, what their date of birth is, what their age is. I do think that there is some form of a responsibility someone should take to make sure that this person has told the truth or the information given can be verified, because he does actually look quite young to me.
He does.
When you're looking at him, he does look quite young. So I think that a lot of this could have been avoided. And then also, as you said, it speaks to the criminal justice system in this country, where of course, remand is such a thing. Not every time somebody comes in, is arrested, they are released straight away, depending on the severity of the crime. The issue is the speediness of it. I think that's where we're falling short here, because even 7 days, which is what the police said, that is too long.
That is too long. That
and
is
only for it to come out and turn out to be far longer than that. I think that just underscores that when it comes to reforms in this country, there's a lot of work that needs to happen for police too.
Now, Mimbai, of course, I feel like there's a part of the conversation that we're not even talking about, which is the aspect of the area boys. Is that even being looked into at all? Whether or not, who are these area boys? Where are they? Who are the people who took him in the first place at this Amokoko police station? I haven't seen a lot of talk around that.
The initial report said that he was actually bundled up together with the area boys, who are far older than him, is what the initial report had said. So the assumption is, since they have a case to answer, are they still in remand? Are they? But they are the ones who alleged there was another crime entailing the ₦500,000 to the value of ₦500,000, which they say they bundled along. But very valid point. The menace of area boys that we've come to accept as normal is very concerning, because they run rampant in every and it's increasing. Before they used to be sort of isolated to certain pockets and certain areas and so forth, but now you see that, I guess, given the economic situation, they're spreading their wings and going to various areas and so forth. And yes, they are known as the traditional street collectors and so forth, street tax collectors. Excuse me,
because in a way they're kind of empowered.
They're extremely empowered, and we know the machinery behind them, especially here in Lagos State, where it's extremely normalized and they're almost part of a structured organization. And it's unfortunate that we've allowed these rascals to become so strong and to become so legitimate in their operations in our streets, because truly, if we're looking for some sort of sane environment, safe environment, we're contending with so much insecurity at the moment. This needs to be looked at. That's why you have a governor in Niger State saying he's going to go after, I believe he's retracted his statement. He said that, no, all those with dreadlocks are welcome to come to the state. But, it gets to the point where there's such a menace that you ask yourself, what do you do about it? Area boys are certainly an issue that we need to figure out how they got through the loopholes.
100%. There needs to be a balance. You go to places like Lagos Island, there's an area boy in charge. His name is Elephant. And everyone knows.
Oh, you know him?
Well, I do, because I have to film there sometimes. You go to it. Are you guys shocked? No, but it's true. That's his name. You go to Mushin. There's another one.
You know his name as well?
I'm not gonna say it, but I do. No, I'm just saying, because Vemba, you guys are the group. But sometimes when you have to go to these areas to report, they'll tell you, there's one.
I mean, when we went to Makoko, to be honest, we had to take some gifts for the.
Exactly.
I don't know what his title is. I don't know if he's referred to as a body, but there is such thing. When you enter certain spaces, you do come in peace. But I haven't encountered an area boy such.
Oh, I have.
You pay ground rent.
Yeah. Ground rent. Oh, I have. If they're not trying to break your camera or your drone,
exactly. You want the protection as well.
Precisely.
From elephants.
Wow. Gave elephants some popularity there. Okay, let's head over to Rivers State, where the administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ibas, is calling on the Christian Association of Nigeria to support peace, reconciliation, and stability efforts in the state. At a meeting with the CAN leaders in Port Harcourt, Ibas emphasized the church's role in promoting unity. He extended Easter greetings as well and reflected on the season as a symbol of hope and sacrifice. He also acknowledged President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers, which led to his appointment. Since taking office on the 20th of March, he says he's been consulting with civil society, traditional rulers, and local officials to rebuild trust. He then urged CAN to keep preaching peace across all divides. Staying on this issue, reports are now saying that President Bola Tinubu met with the suspended Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, in London last week. Tinubu had left Abuja for Paris, of course we know this, on April 2nd for a 2-week working visit before briefly stopping in London. Of course we know he has returned. And in the course of this meeting, this London meeting was reportedly at Fubara's request as he seeks a return to office. Sources say the governor expressed willingness to make compromises to end the political crisis in Rivers. Insiders also say talks are ongoing, with a possibility that Fubara's suspension could be lifted before the 6-month deadline. Well, I think this will answer a lot of questions if that suspension is indeed lifted. The questions as to appointment of sole administrators in local government areas, conversations as to the legality or illegality of the state of emergency in the first place. But Fubara has also come out to say that, to express his support and belief in the president and make it very clear that he wants everyone to continue to support the renewed hope agenda. So I would say this is possibly that phrase that came into play at the beginning of the situation of stooping to conquer. It looks like that's what the suspended governor is trying to do. Vimba, you're looking at me with a lot of eyes. I feel like there's a lot of thoughts there.
You will kiss the ring whether you like it or not. But no, on a serious note, this is not democratic process. Democracy is about institutions, and it's about institutionalized processes that ensure that there are checks and balances. There are rules and there are ways for things to be done. Now, state of emergency in and itself, as much as it can be at the request of the president, is a process that then goes through the National Assembly. We saw it go through that process. My question is, are you not supposed to go and appeal to the National Assembly, because that's the body that legitimizes the state of emergency? When we now put all of that power in one individual, that we now go and it's not even the individual I'm blaming, it's the people around him who are giving him that much power by feeling they need to go and start begging for what is rightfully written out in the Constitution to happen, then we have a problem. So I know sometimes we like to put the responsibility on the individual, on the president himself. But no, what about the sycophants who play into the script? They're endorsing this type of this type of system of government. Do they have a choice? Absolutely. That's why it's called opposition. That's why you're in opposition, because you're there to scream and shout and do what you must. The NIMET people who are protesting, it's not because they are mad. It's because they know that they have rights, and they want to reinforce and ensure the world knows that their rights are being infringed upon. Now, Governor Fubara, suspended governor, we've seen some are crossing the floor. The rumors are rife that, he's probably going to follow suit as well so that he can settle himself. So it's all just self-serving. And it's very unfortunate, because in all of this, you now see an administrator almost have to go to the Oxford Dictionary to find out what is the definition of administrator. Because administrator, I don't think, is somebody who's supposed to be doing quasi-political engagements with organizations like CAN. Yes, he was there to stabilize the state. But all these other engagements that are now happening have very political undertones to them. So the question is, what are the conditions in Rivers State that have made Siminalayi Fubara realize that the only way out for him is to fly to London and kiss the ring so that he can secure his political future? It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate assessment of where our democracy is.
Dr. Bata, this takes me to what she said yesterday about a one-party state. That hasn't left my mind since she said it. And it's looking more and more like it.
Yes, okay. We started again today with all this talk about, opposition members dissolving into the ruling party and all of that. But I just wanted to make the point quickly that consultations are welcome, either between politicians or whatever group. And in that sense, the sole administrator in Rivers State, meeting with the Christian Association of Nigeria branch of Rivers State. If you look at the timing, Easter ended, I think, on Monday. So it's within that context, reaching out to various constituencies and talking about peace, cooperation, understanding. It's a thing that anybody in that position would do ordinarily in the spirit of the season. As for Governor Fubara going to London to see the president, well, again, he's a politician. The president is a politician, and he is in the eye of the storm. He will look for help wherever he can get it. Before now, when Minister Wike had the media parley, he said, who is Fubara talking to? That he has not talked to anybody. Who is talking to who? So this may be, taking advice from the man who made him governor, as it is claimed, and then going to see the president to further explain his situation. What I suspect may well happen, don't be surprised when this controversial state of emergency is lifted, when eventually the president so decides that, the song that will come out of Fubara's mouth is on your mandate we stand. Isn't that how they sing it? And it too will just dissolve into the All Progressives Congress and say, oh, I'm so grateful. I've decided to go to APC so that it can have peace. And that is what, is very disturbing about this environment. That anybody that does not support the center and the ruling party, well, you're on your own. So he doesn't want to be on his own. So who else can he go to if not the president of the country? But let's see. Let's wait. Maybe he's the next governor that will go to the APC.
Maybe. Adifemi, do you think?
It's cold outside.
No, first of all, absolutely, it is cold outside, and I do think he has been battered by a lot, right? A lot of weather outside. I think that no matter what side of this argument you are on, I think that if you look at this objectively, I think many people can see that Sim Fubara has been treated unfairly.
Yes.
I think so. And I think that if we're looking at mature ways to bring this impasse to a close, one of the routes would be to have an open dialogue with the president. And as Dr. Bati said, there's really nothing wrong. I know you're talking about the retirement, but yes. But just to apply it to Fubara, there's also nothing wrong with him having a conversation with the president. If he sought to seek an audience with the president and was granted, I think there is a lot of value in having a conversation with the person who has instituted this current state of affairs. As always, I would have liked to hear what they talked about. It would have been nice to know what they said,
like
what was agreed.
Yeah,
always great to be a fly on the wall in rooms like that. But let's just see. I think that many people, if you are in the business, if you are someone who appreciates and loves democracy, you will agree that how Sim Fubara has been treated is not correct. He has secured a mandate, and I do think that if there is any appetite at all for the state of emergency to be lifted, for him to return to his elected position, that should happen sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what the results of this meeting, juxtaposing that with Nyesom Wike's media parley and the statements he made, to see what the result will be at the end of the day. Okay, and in another story, the federal government has announced the release of 50 billion naira to university-based unions for the payment of earned allowances, fulfilling a promise made by President Bola Tinubu. The Minister of Education, Dr. Olatunji Alausa, made the announcement in a statement released by the Director of Press at the Ministry, Borio Folashade. The four benefiting unions are the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Senior Staff Associations of Nigerian Universities, Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, and the National Association of Academic Technologists. The statement described the release as a testament to President Tinubu's commitment to transforming the Nigerian education sector. It also added that the move reflects the administration's push to shift from a resource-based to a knowledge-based economy through investments in education, infrastructure, and human capital. Now, I think this is the second story on education at Ifemi we're taking with it this week. First, we talked about the provision of solar panels for certain universities, and now this. And also juxtaposing this with the NIMET protest, which technically is almost the same thing. They need to be paid. We see now another union getting this. Is this a possibility that maybe NIMET's grievances and needs might be met soon?
Well, clearly it shows that there's money on ground. And as always, so no, but like as you said, as you made that connection, well, exactly that. Like if the federal government has been able to dip its hands into these deep pockets to put money here or to receive money for this certain thing, well, yeah, the grievances of the people who are complaining and asking for their money, their salaries to be paid should also happen. It just shows that, oh, well, actually, this isn't a question that, the piggy is empty, that there aren't any coins to rustle out. You guys have money, so actually use it to do the needful, which is to pay these people. But for the university unions receiving funds, I mean, good for them.
Dr. Bati, do you think there's like a scale of preference thing going on here?
No, well, our argument is that, look, the Nigerian government, the Tinubu administration, needs to declare a state of emergency with regard to insecurity, a state of emergency with regard to education, with regard to the energy sector, because these are areas in which the government can easily, impact positively in society. But the subject before us right now is about the universities. Well, the president promised that he will address the grievances of the academic staff of universities and the non-academic staff. What he has done is to keep his promise. You recall that after university lecturers stayed home for about 9 months or so and the academic calendar was disrupted, it was the Tinubu administration that came and said, oh, okay, we'll start by paying you your arrears for 4 months. I hope that has been paid now, because there was some argument about whether the Ministry of Finance was quick to make the money available or not. Now the president is now, paying and allowances. I'm sure that the academic community will be very happy that this has happened, because a laborer deserves his wages, whether it's in NIMET or it is in the universities.
Absolutely.
So, but what is important is to make sure that this is not an audio statement, that now that the president has given the directive, that the minister, Dr. Lausa, and the Ministry of Education and the relevant departments of government make this money available, because it will motivate members of the university community to do more. And I like the statement placing emphasis on human capital development, a knowledge-based university system, and infrastructure. But beyond all of that, there is the unresolved issue of the ASU federal government agreement of 2001. That is actually what the academics want. I think SANU, they also have the Senior Staff Association, and NASU, they also have some other agreements that have not been finalized. The Federal Ministry of Education should look at all these outstanding agreements, including that of the polytechnics. ASUP also, they have their own grievances about agreements that have not been met. This is a good starting point for the Tinubu administration. It's an expression of confidence and commitment, but there are a lot more, that needs to be done in the academic system. We need to revitalize it. We need to return to the idea of the university, instead of a situation whereby many academics are now selling Zobo, to be able to survive, or, doing other things that are not
there must always just be a little shade there somewhere, Dr. Martin. You just sprinkle it like this. Just sprinkle a little shade.
Some university teachers at a time, they had to go and look for things to do.
Yeah.
Some opened their barbering salons to survive.
Yeah.
Some opened their beer parlors.
Yeah.
Our academics should be allowed to do their job.
Do their job, pursue their passion. Well, let's take our final story. A video now has gone viral showing a motorist.
You've got nothing like that.
No, it's actually, just hear it. It's actually quite funny. A video has now gone viral showing a motorist resisting arrest, we no go agree, by the vehicle inspection officers along the Civic Center axis in VI, Lagos, Nigeria. Now, in this video, which we're going to take a look at right now, you can see the driver is lying under the car to stop it from being towed. This happened during peak traffic hours, caused major traffic backlog as well. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority confirming this incident on Wednesday on X. Is this a type of protest too?
This is a type of protest.
Is this a type of protest? Is this? I mean, what are we supposed to do? What is this? So he didn't want his car towed, and you can imagine why. Maybe it belongs to somebody else. Maybe he thought of the.
To get it out. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know.
You know what? Yeah, Nkechi, thank you for bringing this because we all have to laugh because frustration is everywhere. That's the honest truth. Frustration, there's so much frustration in the land. And, you know, you can only imagine what he's transporting, what he's been
under
through.
The tire.
He has a flat tire. It's just the situation is just so dire.
That laugh you had on, what was that? Like...
No. You know, there's a name in Yoruba language. It's called Folorun Shaw.
Okay.
You know, that means we have given him to God to protect him. But the same Yoruba people also say that even when your name is Folorunso, don't go and lie down on the highway and say any vehicle can pass. But, you know, you made the point. This is about frustration, about desperation. And the relationship again between officials. VIOs are particularly notorious.
Yeah.
If they arrest you, maybe the man has not even had their breakfast. Correct. On that day, you know, they may ask him to go and bring 30,000, they may harass him and all of that. So it's just to make sure that there is better relationship between officials and people. But you didn't complete the story. What happened eventually? Oh. Because this is Nigeria, anything can happen.
No. So eventually he was moved out of the road and then I'm sure they will resolve it in their office.
Okay, they didn't drive over him?
No, he's alive. Well, that will be all for me on What's Trending today. Thank you for having me.